Welcome to the Luxury Rental Blueprint Podcast, your ultimate guide to creating stunning vacation and corporate rental spaces. Join us as we unveil the secrets to boosting revenue and elevating guest experiences through high-quality design and luxurious amenities. Whether you're a seasoned property investor or just starting out, on this podcast, we aim to provide you with the tools and insights you need to build your own five-star rental empire. Hi, welcome to the Luxury Rental Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Williams, and this week we have our good friend, Mike Stone, out in the Arizona markets. Mike Stone has, touched everything from STR to MTR. He's coached on it, and he, is always willing to share his expertise. So, Mike, thanks for being here with us.
Well, thank you for that very kind intro, and it is a pleasure to be here. Appreciate you having me. I've admired you and your work and your business for quite some time, so it's a real privilege to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. We're excited to learn all about things in Arizona out there. Scottsdale is a hot market, so we're going to touch on Scottsdale later. But first, why don't you share with us just kind of how you fell into STRs? Or I don't mean to say that you fell into it. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Why don't you share with us how you came across STRs and how you made it your business?
Sure. It's funny you say it like that. Like, it's not crazy to say fell into it a little bit, I guess. I'll clarify. So I was an attorney originally, and I hated it. I hated everything about my job. I was very good at it, but I didn't enjoy my day-to-day. And so I started learning about investing. I had a small chapter where I was actually obsessed with stocks for a while, but then I got into real estate. I was reading real estate books and, all the same ways most people get into real estate as far as the free content that's available. It's fantastic. Similarly, a similar timeline, I got into mindset and personal growth and personal development, and so it all came together. It's like, I belong as a real estate entrepreneur. That'll be more fulfilling. And the fell into it kind of thing, I remember just scrolling on Instagram, and I saw an ad for an Airbnb coach whose name I won't say because I actually don't recommend his program, but I don't want to speak ill of anybody, but it was inexpensive, and it got the idea going. So I'm grateful that, it gave me the idea. So I joined that program. Again, inexpensive, it was fine. It gave me some surface level idea of what's going on here. It's almost like a nice way to dip my toe in the water, kind of, even though it purported to be more comprehensive. But then I found Sean Rakic at the time, and I got into Airbnb arbitrage, which is not a model I do anymore. I much prefer co-hosting. But at the time, that was my MO. And so I worked with Sean. Sean was phenomenal. I do highly recommend him as a coach, especially if you're going to do the arbitrage model. We can talk about different models, but that is Sean's wheelhouse. And he, as a coach, I've never known anybody to know the Airbnb app better than him, and the algorithm and that kind of level of detail was the mechanical minded, how my brain works. Like, that's what I needed to learn from. So that was awesome. Got really detailed on the setup. And so I appreciate Sean very much. I guess shortly thereafter is when I got to learn about co-hosting, and I learned about Mike Sjogren. And so I guess in that Sean Rakic chapter, that's when I quit my job. I learned about Airbnb on Instagram. 6 weeks later, I quit my job. 2 weeks notice, 8 weeks later, I was out. And I replaced my attorney salary with a fourplex that I arbitraged that did really, really well. It was awesome. Was that
your first deal?
That was my first deal ever in real estate.
Wow. And you were able to quit your job in 2 months on your first deal, being a fourplex.
That was it.
Specifically, was it in Scottsdale?
So it was in Phoenix, maybe like 5 minutes west of Scottsdale, and right along the highway, so you can get to anywhere in Phoenix and Scottsdale very easily. It was B class at best, not very expensive, but for it once, it was enough to replace the income that I needed to go survive, and I'd saved up a little bit, I think like 40 grand. I bet every dollar that I had made into my business and just got everything set up, and that was it. That was my big push. And so it took off very quickly. The property it had two bedrooms, a 1 bedroom and a studio. And I was just turning them out one over the other. Like, it was right after COVID, 2021. So the pent up travel demand was really supportive of my new business. And even in the summer, which is our slow season, I was just cranking out bookings. It was crazy. It was gorgeous. I was my own cleaner at the time too. So I was keeping all the money. I was doing really, really well. And so I'm glad I did. Everyone who I had learned real estate from up to that point, everyone seemed to have that like my first property story, and mine was no different. It was horrible. The amount of maintenance, the quality of guest, I was put through the ringer and still managed to keep really good reviews. That was my that was my hospitality era, is how I think about it in my mind. And then as I've grown my business, it became like more the business era, and now more the real estate era. I'm getting into the actual investing and putting deals together, and more of the luxury space. So we'll tap into that as well. But that was the progression.
That's cool. So do you still have STRs in Arizona?
Yeah, so I have 7 under management now. I've had as many as 22 at a time, 35 total sometimes. I'm just real flexible with owners, like when they're trying to sell. I help put them in a good position to sell, and I don't mind terminating a contract, right? So I'll even take some short contracts. I took some Super Bowl contracts. So I've done 35 total houses, 22 at a time. Cut a lot of, including my first deal, I've now cut that because I just feel genuinely like my time is better spent elsewhere, and a couple other things that we'll discuss even on this podcast, different businesses and things I'm doing. So I didn't want to be caught up in the low quality properties anymore, the 2 bedrooms with the difficult guests and the constant maintenance. Like that hospitality era is closed. Like now I got systems and automations to deal with my guests and great teams, and so I don't want to be caught up in the mess. So I shrunk down my portfolio intentionally and have reallocated my time. But in the meantime, the ones that I have are awesome properties, mostly 5 bedroom. I have a 7 coming along, be my 8th property in a couple of days now, maybe a week. And then we have a couple other really like close deals in the pipeline too that are for nice homes. It's so much more fun to be dealing with the luxury, the beautiful design, which I know we'll talk about today too. Like I'm having a lot of fun now in this chapter of the business. Yeah.
And I think when you have that higher end luxury design, you totally attract a completely different guest type, right?
Absolutely.
So we're still going to have guests that are sometimes a little bit difficult, but I feel like overall they tend to appreciate their experience a whole lot more because of the intentionality behind the design, and they tend to be a little bit easier to work with. And the idea is just, yes, they're going to have high expectations, but if you can meet those high expectations with your design, your amenities, and your customer service, I mean, you're kind of knocking it out of the park. So they're happy if you keep them happy.
Exactly. That's true. I kind of have like a 2-sided matrix when I'm thinking of the guests. It's like the quality of guests, but it's also the type. And when you're dealing with a low quality of guests, you don't always get to pick your specific avatar, because you don't even have enough amenities to say that, hey, this is for kids, this is for corporate travelers. Like it might just be that your home is basic and appeals to anybody, and that may work in some markets, and it may work if you have good, let's say, contracts with midterm rentals or corporate travelers or hospitals or insurance companies. Like there's ways to get that done. But when you get to the higher tier of property, of design, and of guest, that's when you have more things that you can offer, and you can niche down and say, hey, I have a playground, a race car track in the backyard, and bunk beds and all these games for kids. We're decked out with video games and movie theater. Now you have a family place, and you're making sure that the parents have a spa in their bathroom, and that it's an elegant space for them to be able to get away and enjoy their kids, but everybody's safe. The pool's got a fence. Like it's a whole specific thing that you have money to invest into a property to do certain things. But if that's not your avatar, maybe like Scottsdale has a lot of corporate golfers who are coming here, especially in season, and that's a whole other avatar. Now you need to think about maybe a speakeasy, or is it a swim up bar in the pool? Some people are doing lazy rivers out here now, which is crazy and expensive but lucrative if you can pull it off. And how do we then, we're doing an observation deck on the roof of the new one, the 8th one I'm launching, and it's just going to be awesome because that one has horizontal views, and so you can see the mountains.
Golf simulators.
Golf simulator, yep.
You have them in any of your properties?
This upcoming one will have a golf simulator, which I'm going to give all credit to one of my best friends who's a competitor, short-term rental manager. Technically, we don't compete. I love Tristan Patrica from Sojourn Properties. He's the one I got the idea from to do a golf simulator. He's got an amazing property. It's called Saguaro Point. It's on top of a mountain in North Scottsdale, 360-degree views. There is a golf simulator in the garage that I've played on. It was very fun. It has a ton of courses and whatever. And then into the mountain itself, they built tee boxes so you can haul off and just shoot golf into the mountain, into the desert scape. It's gorgeous. And then there's a giant putting green at the base that I think it's like 130 yards out or something like that, in which a golfer will know is reasonably fun to shoot off to, especially from that high elevation. It's like Top Golf, but from a mountain. It's awesome.
That's
so
neat.
now we stole the golf simulator idea. I'm getting a similar one in the new property.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've looked at them a few times, and I've definitely played with them. So, question about the golf simulator.
Sure.
Like in Tristan's property, and then like if you're looking at putting it in yours, are you doing anything that? So like I know the one of the companies that I was working with had an option for this box that you can like bolt it down into, and so that it cannot be picked up and walked away with.
Yeah.
They have certain ways of building the boxes out so that they are essentially secure. Is that something that you've thought about or that you've thought through? Is that something that you have to DIY or have your handyman do, or does the company do it for you?
So it depends. I think the company could do it for you, and I'm not sure who did what with Tristan's as far as like who paid for what. But he has one that I don't know if it's bolted down either, but there is something like what you're talking about. The computer is in a case, a showcase, where it's like it'd be difficult to steal or move. Certainly we've thought about the same, kind of a structure. It could be DIY'd if you're feeling creative. It's certainly a handyman could pull that off pretty easy. The thing is, I trust the level of quality of guest that is in these properties. They're not coming with that mindset more often than not. And so I would feel very safe leaving it out. I just wouldn't worry. Plus, I got levels of insurance. I use Safely, which is a competitor of Wavo, and you have reservation-specific insurance with a $0 deductible. I have air cover if it's through Airbnb. And then, there's other companies, proper homeowners insurance, STR, riders. Like, there's different ways to insure where, steal it, I'll get my money back. Like, I'm half kidding.
But in some cases, these can be like $20K. Like setup.
But it's $20K. It could include like the deck that you're golfing off of, plus the turf, plus the projector screen and the projector above. So $20K could be full setup. I think I'm looking at one that's 15 or 16K, maybe 20 after the build out. Plus computer. So again, like people might,
if they're taking the computer, they might walk away with a couple thousand, but and then your insurance is going to come in and cover that.
I'd be more worried that they'd steal wine off a nice showcase like you see behind you right now. There's one extra bottle goes missing. You know what I mean? Like that's more stealable, I think.
Yeah, well, they're going to drink it is what they're going to do.
Right. Part of the welcome package. We want them to steal it.
Right?
But just a quality of guest thing.
So let's talk about that then, because I know a lot of these places out there in Scottsdale have these really cool bars, like you said, even a speakeasy. If it's not a speakeasy and it's hidden and it's got the vibes, there's at least a pretty good bar. That's people are going for real entertainment vacation, like let's have fun. So what do you do with your properties in terms of that bar? Like, do you stock it? Do you include booze? Like, what do you do?
So I actually do nothing. I'm happy to offer a service at a higher end home, which right now most of my properties I don't even necessarily offer. I certainly would, but we don't make a thing to push it unless it's a luxury home. At which point, yes, let me do the concierge full blown and we'll pick it up for you. But then we're charging cost price on alcohol. I don't want anything to do with alcohol sales. I don't want anything to do with my license. What's that license you need? People know.
Liquor license or whatever.
Liquor license. Thank you. That's all I'm thinking of. So I don't want to deal with any issues with that with the city. So I'm a delivery service if you need it. On something like this new seven bedroom home with all the amenities. They deserve that level of courtesy, but not as an alcohol sales thing. So we give you the space to enjoy yourself. You stock it up as much as you want. If there's a bottle of wine in a welcome package, you're not paying for it. It's still just a gift. Hey, welcome to my house. So I keep it simple that way. Yeah.
Awesome.
But you're right. It's cool. It's such a fun design element. It's so interesting because you could bring it into so many different types of designs in Scottsdale. There's so many different avatars here where whether you're going family and now this is the parents, maybe it's speakeasy, it's getaway, but maybe it's also like more of that golf, it's open, like you want it to be social and that not hidden kind of speakeasy vibe, but it's like just the way your wine's behind you. It's kind of the whole thing is we're open concept here to host, like big couches. I want alcohol displayed. I want counters, plenty of counter space for us putting out snacks and charcuterie and, like just so many different ways you can spin it. And that's where having a professional designer can like bring that to life in a really cool and unique way. And a lot of properties are doing it now. To be specific about one, I work with Savvy as a short-term rental realtor. I cover all of Arizona. I'm the exclusive realtor for AirDNA in Arizona. I'm under contract in northern Arizona right now in a property in Williams, which is north of Sedona. It's all the way up there. They're building a bar into a barn shed, like it's a small barn. They're going to build it in, open up the whole wall, and then have it'll be like saloon style. They're going to have glass doors so that it's temperature controlled. Then you walk in and open saloon doors so that it's themed, and then you're going to have a bar into this like barn shed kind of concept. Going to be absolutely epic. So just a cool way to like lean into a design that's they'll stock it themselves, they'll have all their own fun, but you give them the space to do that.
I love that. I love that idea. That sounds so fun. And I mean, the thought process behind like, but wait, it needs to be climate controlled. So we're going to put like glass doors and then we're going to give the authenticity of the saloon doors when you walk through there. It also kind of gives you kind of like a secretive vibe. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah. A good way for parents to get away from the kids for a minute.
So would you say that's one of your favorite bars that you've seen out there, or do you have a particular favorite?
I think that one is my favorite. I also think Tristan's is pretty cool in his garage. It's small. It's like an easy purchase probably, but it's like a skeleton bar that's set up right next to that golf simulator with a giant leather couch. We call it like a dad's basement kind of couch that you'd grow up in, and like it's just easy hanging out, super social. So I think he did a really good job as well at Squirrel Point. There's been a few others, nothing that super remarkable stands out. It's just part of the experience now, that if you can provide it, it's great. Pass-through windows, I think, are really cool because Scottsdale is all about the outdoor amenities. So if you can have a pass-through window into a cocktail table, something high top, that would be really nice. We're installing that at one of our properties right now, and I'm about to put an offer on another property. We're already talking about blowing out the wall to add an outdoor kitchen with a pass-through window, and then giant sliding accordion doors, or maybe pocket doors next to it, but huge. So just to give that indoor-outdoor feel, it's brutal for the electric bill, but it's great for the guests.
Yes. Yeah, I totally get that. We're doing the same thing on a new property that I just started as well. So same thing. I mean, Southern California is very similar in that manner that, being outdoors is epic. I mean, you want to be outdoors. We can be outdoors for Christmas most of the time. Like, as long as you got a heater. Yeah. And we're putting space heaters underneath the patio cover, and we have recessed lighting and fans. We like all the things.
Nice. But that's what's good about you being in the game, is like you understand those specifics. Those specifics are something that not every designer might think about. In hospitality specifically, if you got a designer who's, how many times I'm sure you see it, oh, my cousin pulled together an apartment, did a really good job. And you're like, okay, that doesn't make him a designer. Or even someone who is more of a designer, but a professional residential designer who doesn't think, how do I curate the experience for an Airbnb guest who's going to complain and needs it to be idiot-proof and is on vacation and maybe they're drinking or maybe they're distracted with family and, it needs to be seamless, and you're thinking of all the functionality in addition to the design. And that's why I like working with professionals like you.
Exactly. And then for those that don't, for those that are doing it on their own or whatever the case may be, I mean, you want to think through also how you're using the space and use the space yourself. Like, actually stay there while you're setting it up so that you can experience some of these things. And if you are setting up in the summer and you stay there in the summer, make sure you go back and you stay again in the winter, because you want to make sure that it's still serving your guests well. And something like a heater on the patio, you wouldn't think that during the summer in most cases, but then when you get out there in the winter and you want to use that space, you might realize, it does get kind of chilly. Let's figure out what we can do to warm this space up. So love that. Outdoor spaces, epic. I mean, what are you seeing in terms of like pools, spas? Are they a necessity? Are they just great to have, or do you really need one to be competitive?
I would say anywhere in Scottsdale, pool is mandatory. If you don't have a pool, you're just not competing at the highest level. And there are properties, again, that can get away with that. Maybe they do a lot of midterm rentals and it doesn't matter. But if you're trying to compete at the height of the STR market, you definitively must have a pool. And I would strongly recommend a hot tub, if not a heated pool, which, of course, that's a pain in the ass. But that's what we need to do to be competitive. So, yeah, deal with it. I think it's unavoidable. One way to make that even more worth your money is to make the pool something extra special. Swim up bar and lazy river, I know it's a haul, but the revenue that you would generate from adding a feature like that is incredible. It's so worth it. Depending on the avatar, of course. If you're going for a midterm rental in a mid-scale property, you don't need to go over the top with your pool. Yeah. It's not going to
No, but we're talking about, you're going to do a lazy river when you sleep 16 to 20 people and, you have a large home.
And we have one now that we're going to sleep 12 people, and that's where we figured the lazy river wouldn't pay for itself. 12 people, maybe 10 people, probably most people who book will be 8 people. So, even if it can sleep 12, probably, normally see 8. So that's where we like swim up bar is great. We install a couple of the seats and pull it right up, like outdoor kitchen. We have to crane in the outdoor kitchen. It's so cool. I love it. But it's simple enough that will have ROI as opposed to going too far with the lazy river or not enough with a simple pool.
Yeah. Now let's also talk about, let's say you buy a house and the house already has a pool in it, or you have a house that you're wanting to turn into an STR and the house already has a pool in it. You're not going to drain the pool unless it needs work. You're probably not going to drain the pool and then have them build out the forms for the interior stools for the, for a swim up bar or anything like that from the inside, right? So you want to make sure that you're looking for the furniture. They have furniture that you can actually put into the water. They're like little stools, and once they fill with water, they stay in place. They even have chaise lounges. So if you have a Baja step, they have chaise lounges that sit in the water. I've even seen pieces where there's a piece that sits outside of the pool, and a little table surface pops out and floats on top of the water, and then you have your benches inside the water. So you can get really creative there when you're in kind of those mid-range properties, like you say. So let's talk about, what does mid-range versus like the high range relate to in terms of like average nightly rate?
So it depends, because Scottsdale's got a great variety, which makes it easy to access for investors at all levels. There are good deals at every tier, and really you could find seedy areas of Scottsdale that I do not recommend investing in or living in, for that matter. And then you could find areas like Cactus Corridors, North Scottsdale. Troon is, if anybody knows Scottsdale, northeast of the 101 will make sense to somebody who understands Scottsdale. And that area is just a really, really high-end area. So you get such a range where, I mean, it's common to see nightly rates $1,200, $1,300, $1,700. It can be. But then it's also more common, obviously, bell curve, to see, $300, $400, $500. I have 5-bedroom properties that'll do $400 to $500 a night right now in January. We'll probably see 6, 7 in February, and they're not particularly luxury, but it has everything you need. Like, we took a $850,000 house, ballpark, maybe up to $1 million, right? And that kind of a house, and you just add everything it needs. I'm thinking of one in particular, fully decked out game room in the garage with everything, and I mean everything that you would want in a game room. Then it's got the pool, the hot tub, outdoor pizza oven. The design is really nice. It has a really realistic mural of a giant mountain and a huge open concept wall. It's like we took what the property was and we made the very best of it. It's 5 bedrooms, so we made it sleep 10. I don't think we really advertised it as 12, even though you'd sleep on a couch, but like, that's not how you want to sleep in that place. So that's the kind of property that'll command, at its lowest, $250. At its highest, $750. I've had some crazy midterm rental contracts that were super lucrative in that home as well. But generally that's where we're at, and that's like a very accessible property, generally speaking, to a lot of people. Is you can get to that $850 to $1 million. Depends on the investor. There's plenty of investors above and below, right, and they all have options, but that's doable.
And then when you're talking about taking a property that's, let's just say, 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, and you're wanting to furnish it in this manner, you're probably looking at investing anywhere from like $75,000 to $100,000 in furnishings.
I think that's reasonable. I think you could do a really good job with that, but yeah, I think that's reasonable. So if you put 75 or 100 into a property like that $850 to $1 million kind of a range, or my sweet spot, my preferred buy box really is 1.1 to 1.5. I think that's where you could really move the needle, because that's where you start seeing properties with yard space that you could add onto as well.
Yes, so and increase and add those amenities.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of that price point that I recommend.
So outside of outdoor kitchen and pool, hot tub, are there any other outdoor amenities that you think are just like epic and people should really, if they can, install them? And we've seen some pretty cool things. You talked about lazy rivers. Yeah. We've seen pickleball courts out there and things like that. So what are some of the fun ones that you've seen?
The pickleball court is definitively the best ROI amenity that I know of in Scottsdale right now. I've seen TechFester do it. I've seen STR Cribs do it. I've seen STR Search talk about it and show how much it changes the revenue. I've seen it with my own comping, and it's just incredible. If you spend $40,000, $50,000 to install a pickleball court, I'm saying that you'll get $50,000 back, depending on the property. There's other variables, obviously, but I'm saying you'll get $50,000 back that year in additional revenue, and then see that for the future of however long you hold that property, 5, 7 years, whatever you want to do. So I think pickleball is a huge opportunity. Also, when you do pickleball, you get to paint multiple lines. Now you get to offer basketball. Now you get to offer tennis. You get to offer whatever other things that you can include, and so you get more bang for your buck that way. So if the guy who doesn't care about pickleball, like me, I'm still in that. Evidently, that's the minority now. Apparently, less people.
I'm gonna ask you, do you play pickleball? Because I'm just curious, how long is pickleball gonna be around? How long is this gonna be a trend? It's not really a sport. It's not a drink, right? You can have a drink in your hand while you're playing. From my understanding, I don't know. I've never seen it.
Depends how competitive. I've seen people of all levels of competition. My brother's phenomenal at racket sports. He's sick at tennis, and so he smokes people at pickleball. I won't even pick up a paddle. I'm not anti, I just don't care. It's just another stupid sport. I don't care, but people just love it and has been for years, and you see it in the revenue. So it's I'm not gonna buck the curve. Like if you guys don't want to play pickleball, here's your pickleball. God bless. You know what I mean? So the money is proven, and it's been, and even Summer-led Designs, I've worked with them, and they determine the ROI on different amenities and have done a bunch of projects in Scottsdale where they have also proven that pickleball just has incredible returns. Again, it varies. Are you in a multi-million-dollar property? Are you in a 1.3? Are you in an 850? Or are you in a traditional, like $500,000 house? You don't even need pickleball at that house. But on that scale, you will see your money back in most cases. And that's where it's also helpful to work with somebody like me locally, where I could show you, hey, on here it would matter, on here it would not.
Yes, absolutely. Especially STR specific realtors. I think that's super, super important. This season, we're going to see a couple of STR specific realtors in different markets, and they're going to walk us through what is working and what isn't working. And that's something that Savvy does specifically, right? Savvy, you guys can walk them through and help them find their handymen and their cleaning teams and everybody boots on the ground. Yes?
Absolutely, top to bottom. It is so different working with an STR agent compared to a realtor, which selfishly is why I love my job. I want to be an STR realtor. I have no desire to be a realtor, at all. It doesn't interest me. I don't care about it. Not in any negative way. It's just I have no draw. But the way I do it now is I'm literally working only with investor clients, determining their financial performance, running real estate math for them, designing properties and building them out with ROI focus. I have an assistant, Ava Kate, who is amazing at the artistic side of design. I'm abysmal. That's not where I shine. I know when to outsource. I know what my role is. I can direct traffic at the top, but I cannot make it pretty. So she makes things pretty, but I'm the one saying, okay, well, pickleball goes here, and this leaves enough room for the pool to be expanded here into the swim-up bar. Don't forget the observation deck, building out the staircase on this side. I'm the one, pulling that all together with her help, and it comes together beautifully.
That's awesome. That's super awesome that you guys are able to do that together. You're really kind of a one-stop shop.
Yeah, it's nice for us to be vertically integrated because now we can also manage on the back end like I always have. But it's great for the clients. That's really who benefits the most because, I'll tell you, so to make it a little bit funny, I have a friend who's a decamillionaire in commercial real estate. He builds for Starbucks and Dutch Bros and, whatever, and then takes a triple net 30-year lease.
Transform your real estate investment with Mumford Designs, the boutique interior design firm specializing in short-term and medium-term rental properties. Our data-driven approach ensures your property not only stands out, but consistently delivers 5-star guest experiences. We blend style with strategy, crafting spaces that optimize guest satisfaction and drive top revenue year after year. Our services go beyond aesthetics to provide a full-spectrum solution tailored to real estate investors. We offer a property audit that delivers detailed market research, helping to identify design and amenity opportunities within your market. We also create guest avatar profiles to anticipate guests' needs, driving both design decisions and marketing strategies. From full-service design, sourcing, purchasing, and delivery coordination, to installation and staging, we handle every detail, so investors can sit back and enjoy the results. For more in-depth projects, we also offer construction management, ensuring your design vision is realized with precision. With Mumford Designs, you can trust that your property will exceed guest expectations and boost your revenue potential without you having to lift a finger. Book your discovery call at the link in this episode's show notes to get started. Elevate your investment with Mumford Designs, where smart design meets lasting results.
And so Rafat tells me, he goes, he'll work with realtors who bring him deals, and they'll tell him, hey, this is a good deal. You should look at this piece of property. And he'll look at the numbers and go, why would you say this is a good deal? And they'll say, well, look at this, and it's a good area for this. And he goes, none of that matters to me as an investor. None of those things are important. The way you'd say as an STR investor, you're not looking at the school district when you invest necessarily, unless you're really thinking about who's the end buyer when you get out. But he's that isn't important. So when you work with a realtor who doesn't understand investor math, they just bring you stuff. And so Rafat and I call it commission sharks. They just want their money. 3%, 2.5%. Oh, okay. They don't actually know how to put the client in the best position. So I'm now going deep up with these clients, as if I'm coaching them on this is everything you need to know, top to bottom. They'll ask me questions from digital locks to design to ROI to general contractor things to how even to run real estate math. A lot of these guys, they're I want to get into short-term rentals, but if I heard 15% gross ROI, is that good? If I said 20% cash on cash, am I happy? Yes, that's what you want, but they don't know what that means. So you have to kind of coach them, hey, here's what it means to return on your money. You'll have all your money back in 5 years. It's worth it because X, Y, Z. All the things that they're going to want to know that a realtor doesn't necessarily indulge in the way a short-term rental investor realtor does. And that's why Savvy is phenomenal. We have 34 of us now, possibly more. Trish Bartley is in charge of our US expansion team, and she has built us to a huge team. We might even be closer to 40 agents now that are all short-term rental specific in many different markets. We're starting to expand in the West. I'm one of the only ones out West now, but we got Joshua Tree. I have all of Arizona, which is mostly Sedona and Scottsdale, but then the surrounding neighborhoods and cities, as well as we have someone in Utah as well. And I think that's pretty much where we're at with the West, but we're growing constantly. And I know we're adding San Diego soon. So having somebody who's coming to this market, even if they understand STR and they don't know the specific market, we could speak the same language. So I'm incredibly grateful to be with Savvy. It's a phenomenal team, phenomenal support. Tyler Kuhn is a marketing guru, genius, and everybody is really, really refined on their STR knowledge.
That's awesome. And the expertise that you bring with it too. It's not like you just found STR 6 months ago and are trying to, advise these people. Like, you've been there, you've done it. You've done a few different models at this point, and from anything from the lower end to the higher end. So you're in there, you're working it, and you know what it's gonna take to make it work. So I think that's also the benefit of just
it's great to come, because I came from a short-term rental background and then became an STR realtor. It is different than coming from a realtor background and being like, what's this STR stuff? There's too much financial pressure to be right, and there's too much potential energy loss, time and energy of other people if you put somebody in a bad position. And I wouldn't do that. And I've done one bad real estate deal where I got really badly burned. I feel what it feels like to be wrong, and the time and energy that it takes to correct course and make the money back. Man, it's something to endure, and I don't want to ever put somebody in that position. So I consider myself a better steward of other people's money, having gone through that. But that's something that a savvy STR agent can put you in a position to succeed and warn you of those problems in advance, and just not let you do a deal that's going to be a bad deal. I was at a property recently with a client. This guy Josh, he's a very cool dude, great family, and he's looking to do a property that's going to be themed like Mattel, the brand, because Mattel is building a water park, the largest resort in Arizona, in the city just west of us. Yeah, so it's going to be very cool. That's like Thomas the Tank Engine, Barbie, Hot Wheels, Uno. So that's Mattel, and so he's going.
An Uno living room would be so epic.
That's what he's doing. It's Uno already. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Like giant Uno card artwork. Oh, this sounds fun.
Uno rugs. Yeah, it's really awesome. And so he's building that out, and we found this cool property. It's on a lake, which, as far as offering lakes in Arizona, that's not really a thing. So super unique amenity opportunity, but we're going through all the liabilities. Well, we got to put up a fence. Well, we got to look at the HOA. What's their CC&R say about the fence? Well, we want to theme the boat. It's going to be a Barbie dream boat. Okay, well, are we allowed to? We got to check if that's even permitted. What about the liability? We got to get kids next to water now. That's going to be dangerous. Are we fencing the pool? So many thoughts that a realtor doesn't have. But someone who's been through hospitality and read 408,000 guest comms, you get it. You know what to look for. You know what I mean? It's a different mind, and that's where I'm more valuable than a traditional agent for someone who's specifically looking to invest in a short-term rental in Arizona.
That makes sense. You actually touched on something that I have always kind of wanted to ask somebody who's in this space that touches more than a handful of properties. And when you have properties, and in your market you're going to have, like you say, most properties do have pools. How common is it for people to fence their pools? How often would you recommend for people to fence their pools?
Great question. And so in Scottsdale, and not Phoenix, but very recently, Scottsdale made it mandatory to have a fence, with the only exception being an alarm on your door, and that you can get like $20 on Amazon. When you open the door, it makes a beep, and that's sufficient. Here's my advice. I'm super, as a former attorney, err on the side of caution. That is some serious litigation where the process is the punishment. You will lose so much money in litigation fees dealing with whether or not you should be liable for someone else's injuries or worse from a pool. So I would say have the fence and the alarm. You might as well. It's not that inconvenient. The caveat is this. When you get into the luxury space, sometimes those fences look so ugly, and it detracts from the property. And I understand when you're looking at that level of property, the amount of money that would kind of, if it's an eyesore, that actually is a problem. If it's a functionality thing where I don't want to have to walk around the fence every time I'm trying to get to the pool because of how the yard is set up or whatever, I get that, at which point at least have that alarm and have all sorts of liability, post signage if you can, please be safe. My advice is always err on the side of caution. Does everyone follow best practice? Of course not, but.
Very
generally
true. Very true.
I would default to. Do the safe thing, do the right thing. It's for your guest benefits, for your own peace of mind, it's for your money, it's for your liability. Like, please, just people should do the right thing.
And know your avatar too. I mean, if you know that you have a home where you're going to be hosting families with younger children, then it's actually going to be important to them in most cases that they have that fence. You could do photographs without the fence and then have a photograph with the fence, because in many cases they are removable. They have the poles that come out of the ground and you can roll it up and stick it and store it away. So you can always pull it out for a couple of photos and then put the fence in and also show that. As a parent with young kids, that would be something that I would say I would book the property with the pool fence over the property without the pool fence in most cases, if everything else was comparable. Right. So this, I mean, it's just putting your guests at the forefront of your mind and taking that extra step to keep their families safe and kind of safeguard their vacation and their memories. So.
Exactly. And you want the parents to be able to be inside drinking wine, not worried about, is my kid going to be safe? Is my kid going to do something dumb? And you've seen it in your guest comms. Plenty of guests are dumb. Sorry. So just don't even let them be dumb. Foolproof is my
Yeah, we definitely have seen it. I did co-host a property that had a pool, and that was the first thing that they did. I mean, when you walked in the front door, you looked out and you saw the pool. It was the first thing you wanted to do. It was epic. It was Infinity Edge, overlooked a beautiful golf course.
Nice.
So it was one of those things that definitely drew your attention. So for us, that was really important. Like, we need to at the very least have an alarm on this door, because I can just see a kid running in, parents are still trying to unpack the car, and the kid's like, whoa, that's cool. And then they run straight out there, right? Like, you just want to be mindful. And then can you imagine that'd be like the start of their vacation is to have some kind of accident or just even a scare.
A scare, like exactly.
Not even worth it. Not worth it. Much better to have that alarm so that if somehow that kid got out that door, the parents would hear that alarm and be like, oh goodness, what's that? Let's go check on it.
Exactly. Peace of mind, and that's again back to your acumen in this business of like function along with design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to think it through both ways. But Scottsdale is they have a pretty high standard when it comes to design. I mean, design trends or anything like that. I mean, is there anything on the interior that you're seeing that is becoming very popular or almost a necessity to have?
Yes, honestly, everything in Scottsdale has been taken up to the nines now. And so what's super common recently is murals. I think that is becoming, I wouldn't say mandatory, but the top competitors of some sort of mural, or at the very least, if you want to keep it sophisticated, a classy carpentry behind a headboard with some extra wood slats that make it look a little bit more unique, painted a dark accent wall color, if not a full-blown mural somewhere. Themes are becoming very popular. The thing is, it's just everyone's stacking on each other. So as soon as somebody can redesign, they redesign it better than the next and better than the next. So you see all these tiers of like how old, what was common, what was popular. There was an era in the Scottsdale market where sand volleyball courts were going in very fast. TechFester was responsible for a lot of them. And then companies like Summerled were looking retro at those projects and saying, people aren't really playing sand volleyball. Like, they're not using it. It's kind of wasted space, and that's so much yard space that could be used for something else. Mm-hmm. And so, like, why not drop a hot tub there or anything else? And so, Scottsdale stopped doing some of those. And so now it's like, you definitely need the interior design to be on point. Murals definitely help. You can't really sacrifice, again, it's function and design, right? Like, you need to have all of the details of what somebody's gonna need when they're there. And so having a robust like kitchen, even the supplies, like I think that's what's really common in Scottsdale now is you have a really nice coffee set, everything's set up, really staged really well. The kitchen is really done like for full-blown cooking, and at the highest luxury spaces, like, you got to have the extra appliances. Do you have the double oven? Do you have, just different things where it's like the brands that I don't even know because I don't know how to cook very well. And then like, oh, you have this Viking set, like that becomes really important to people. And they're hosting, whether it's a private chef or they're cooking for themselves, like the kitchen's actually a really big deal. Is it a nice kitchen? Because that's where people are spend a lot of time. The dining room's also always done up where it's just like, that's important. You got really nice fixtures, really good quality furniture. Like, you have to make it the basics all the way to the top.
Yes.
You can't get away with cheap furniture, but we have some cool stuff. There's some designs that look like, we joke around, Ava and I, it looks like a guy did it. It looks like it has the function and nothing, it has everything it needs and nothing it doesn't. It's like, it's got the function, but it's not pretty. It's like, yeah, we have a pickleball court, but it's like weird colors and it's off to the side and it doesn't have anything to do with the rest. Or, again, this is back to the exterior, but Scottsdale's got a lot of just pebbles instead of grass as its desert scape.
Yes,
and so people would just fill that in, but that's not really usable. Dogs don't walk on it, people don't play on it, like you don't sit and put chairs on it. It kind of sucks. So to have just the basics of a backyard, right? I'm not saying anything crazy, add turf, but take it to the nines, do the whole backyard. It's like, don't just have things choppy, and some of the backyards are really choppy. It's just no sense of cohesion. And that's where I think having the sophistication of cohesion and doing the right things, but to the moon, that's really what you have to do right now in Scottsdale, particularly on the interior where there isn't not everyone's going to put up a golf simulator. Some people just need a nice living room that doesn't have your grandmother's furniture. And now that standard, like I said, it tiers. It's like, it was bad furniture, you'd get away with that right after COVID. Then it's like, well, it's better furniture. Now it's like, it's a unique design and a whole boho theme. Then it's like actual theme. Then it's like, so you find yourself at the higher end of the tier, you'll find yourself making more money.
Yes, and that's the thing too. When you do want to be at the higher end of that tier, you do have to consider what your competition is, what their designs are. It is a little keeping up with the Joneses, but I mean, you're looking to be the best competitor in your market. So yes, you're going to have to keep leveling up and leveling up. You cannot do anything halfway. So you cannot, like you say, you cannot do half of the yard and then just decide you're going to pebble the rest of the yard. It doesn't make sense because then it becomes unintentional, or it looks
wasted space, or eyesore.
Yeah, or it looks like you ran out of budget, and then so then as a guest, I'm going to walk in and be like, they ran out of budget and didn't finish the yard, and then so where else did they skimp on things in here? Am I going to be sleeping on scratchy sheets? They have that single ply toilet paper, don't they? I am a toilet paper snob. In my properties, we always have
the best
toilet paper. I swear there's nothing irritates me more than really cheap toilet paper at a really nice restaurant or something like that. Nothing ticks me off more than bad toilet paper and paper towels. They just should be better.
It reminds me of when people put water in their soap and they just try to water it down with one ply. It's the same concept to me. You're cheaping out on things that you shouldn't be cheaping out on. Just give the right stuff. Give them new soap. If I go to pump it and it's liquid in my hands, this feels like one ply. It's just,
that's such a good point.
I always say top 10% properties will make top 10% results, but middle of the pack properties will not necessarily make middle of the pack results because you're so replaceable.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to fluctuate, and you might be doing really well for 6 months, but then you're going to drop, and you're not going to understand why you're dropping. And it takes so much more consistency and going back in and checking the comps again and checking them again and seeing where you're at and then making adjustments. And if you just do it right the first time, you can sail through at least that first year or so, sometimes 2 years, before you have to go in and start redesigning and really kind of bumping things up again. Exactly, refreshing. But it is a market, I assume, that you're seeing a lot more refreshing in.
You have to. I refreshed my listings at my own cost all the time. I had to.
Well, often.
I mean, 2021, I rode those. I'm talking specifically about the properties I've arbitraged.
Mm-hmm.
I've done 10 total arbitrage units. I still keep 2 because they're just doing amazing, but I don't do the model anymore. I refreshed those because it was my responsibility probably every 1.5 years. But the first year I waited even longer because I was riding the COVID tailwinds when it was just doing really well. So I felt like I didn't need to. I was just coasting. And then it's exactly like you said. I started doing poorly and I was like, this isn't me. Why? Why am I not making the same money? I've always made the same property, same photos. So I was like, I just got to push. And it's funny, I was thinking of a different property a moment ago, but the same thing applies now here where you check again, because you said check your comps repeatedly for this refresh, and I check my comps again. Suddenly you have 18 new properties in the same 10-mile radius you've been always competing in. In Scottsdale, that literally is what happened, is I had a domain. This is my Mike territory. I knew the 3 people that you could book instead of me, but I had the 4 listings. I was getting booked first. Those were the last 3 every time, and I loved it. Then some time went by, and you check again. Why is there 18? That's 15 new. That's net new. That's competitive, and that's why I'm not booking as well. So you got to refresh. I didn't go crazy with refresh. Those were inexpensive properties to begin with. So I left the couch, but I added flooring. I redid the flooring. And it was like $3,000 for 2 units to do flooring. Changed out the art on the walls. One had none, and one had basic art. I think I left the basic art mostly alone. But the one that had none, I had Ava go in, my assistant, the artist, and she did an accent wall, hung some nice, like very vibey, like boho kind of style of picture frames and scrolls on the wall. Bedrooms were decked out. We had new things on the wall as well. Just some things on the, I say some things, and I'm a guy, right? But some things on the kitchen table, centerpieces that were cloths and pieces and things. I was like, I don't know what these things are. These are items. But she spent my money and she made it pretty. I don't know what happened. But,
and did it work?
Yeah. Then you start booking again. All it took, and I was back up into my same old prices like nothing ever happened. But it took that refresh and new photos. And so this is a thing too that I bet you deal with. People are so hesitant to take new photos. Oh, I have my phone photos, or I had another photographer do it, or these are a little bit outdated, but it's not bad. I have a listing right now that is actually booking really well. We just took new photos. We pre-listed it with the old photos. I'm grateful it's doing well. We don't have a single backyard photo. She's like, no, this is what we got. I said, we need new photos. You don't even have backyard photos, let alone twilight photos. So I am adamant that you must get crisp, amazing photos. It is your face on the most important marketing platform in the world. It is a multi-billion, or at least $1 billion sales and marketing engine for your short-term rental business. Your only face, your only chance to see these guests are your photos. Lucky enough to then get them to your description. You need to nail it. So I love the twilight photos because you need the color. I love the outdoor photos in Scottsdale because the whole point of people coming to Arizona is usually outdoor amenities or hiking, and or something outdoorsy, unless it's family, whatever. And so just emphasizing that is so critical. And people are like, I don't want to spend $750. I spent all this money on furniture. I'm like, you will make that back in a booking, that you get one additional booking across the entire year, technically across the entire life of this property, however long you keep these photos. One extra booking pays that back at $750. Please, I don't even want to hear it.
Yes, so, I totally agree with you. I completely agree. I've seen some expensive photo shoots in my day, but I 100% say that it was worth it because absolutely. I mean, you have to think the expensive ones that I've seen they're large homes. They're, this is a couple $1,000s for photography for an STR, but these are STRs that are going for $500, $600, $700 a night plus. And so you have to put it out there. You have to spend that money because even if it's going to take 2 or 3 bookings, right, to pay it off, it's going to help you. Like you say, you're going to keep them forever, but you have to think through what it's going to take to get those photos done too. We need daytime, we need twilight. So that means we need to keep the photographer there for a minimum of 4 to 5 hours. And then you should probably have videography. If he's there, if he or she is there and they can do the videography, get those clips now. Have that reel put together, whatever the case may be, because you never know when you're going to want to use it. You need aerial shots or drone shots. Exactly. You need them. You have to have them. People want to know what's around the property. And if you can show them an aerial view and say, yeah, we're a badass house, we're also surrounded by other badass houses, that just makes it more fun.
The drone shot too, I always think is my favorite shot to look at in any listing because I want to know what the backyard is and the size. How much space do I have to go hang out and what's there and how much turf is it relevant to? Where is the pool? Like, because some backyards, like I said,
how close is the neighbor?
Especially if you're pickleball.
You could have a super epic, like you're on 10 acres and it's super epic and they did all these things with the property, and then like right behind them is one of those like junkyards, you know what I mean, where it's like the place where old RVs go to die.
Yes, there are places like that in Scottsdale where 1 block over is that. You're like, ooh.
People want to see that, and if you don't have that in your backyard, 100% get those drone shots. But like the property that we managed that was, overlooks the golf course. You can see it there. We had another property that was relatively close to Disneyland. Made sure that we were working with a photographer who was able to get into the airspace there because it is close to an airport. You have Disney, you have a few things. So you have to have special permits to be able to fly a drone in that area. So, know who you're working with because they'll be able to kind of guide you through that and whether or not the shots that you want to get are possible. We had to go up a ways to be able to get the shot to show them, here's Disneyland, here's our property, here's Great Wolf Lodge, here's all these other really cool amenities and just places that are nearby for families. So showcase all of that in there. And if you're in an area where it's a little bit tricky to find how to get into the property, or if you park someplace different where you're walking into the property, or let's just say you have 2 doors. Some buildings have 2 doors and it's like, which one is the front door? The aerial is a really great shot to show them little arrows. This is where you go to, to check in. And and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So
I also did that with trash while you're talking about it, like for function, having that picture of like, hey, this is where you take the trash, and we did little red arrows because people, I don't get it. Like it was behind the house. It was not that hard, but a picture makes it easy for the fools, make it foolproof. That's the game.
exactly. So some of these photos that they're taking, we talk about the photography and how it affects the listing, but some of the photos that we're taking are going to get used in your guidebooks. They're going to get used in just guest communications, and you want that branding and that cohesiveness all throughout the guest experience. That's what curates that guest experience. So they shouldn't have really epic photos of the interior and then the exterior looks like iPhone shots, and then they're getting these like totally different photos in their guest communications that look like it's probably a different house because the lighting is different. You know, yeah. So you want to make sure that's thought through so that the guest feels that it's been intentional and you're giving them a more, like I said, curated but also professional experience than what Airbnb maybe used to have been known for.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what people want now. That's the expectation now. Yes, before Airbnb was literally like, cool, somebody's sofa bed, we'll sleep there. But it has evolved and grown so much that when we think about booking a new place, we're thinking about hotels. But sometimes if we're with a whole family or a large group of friends where we all want to like, have a bedroom in a house, it's like, actually, I'd rather go Airbnb.
Right. But you don't want to have to think about how to have that seamless experience in an Airbnb. You want that hotel feel in a home. I just want extra space, not extra headaches.
Yes, exactly. Right. I agree. So yeah, 100%. Photos are super, super important. What are we missing? Hit us with it. Is there anything that we're missing in terms of amenities that we should be providing if we're investing in Scottsdale?
Scottsdale, no, I don't think you're missing anything in particular. It's a pretty straightforward play of making sure people are comfortable in their backyard. That's really the thing, is push people outside and then give them the experience. Outside's where you're going to drive your money. Obviously, inside is critical too, just like we were talking about with design and procuring the experience completely. But the backyard is where you want to drive the attention, and the photos. So I think that's really what it comes down to. It's one cool thing to note about Arizona, I guess, in general, is Scottsdale, Phoenix, and this whole valley area. You could treat your analysis similarly, but one thing that's I think is interesting to know is that Sedona has a very different seasonality. Sedona and Williams and Flagstaff in northern Arizona are also really good places to invest. People think Scottsdale because it's the mecca of vacation rentals right now, and it is. But actually, one of my favorite lenders just came out with a couple articles showing how Flagstaff is the best city in the country right now to invest in Airbnb in 2025. So I've been pushing that article out to a couple of my clients like, hey, I've been telling you this Flagstaff deal is great. I have a really, really cool deal right now if anybody's interested in Flagstaff. Getting in under $1 million, so about $750,775 will be the price. And it's 2.5 acres of land, couple buildings already on it, totally set for indoor pickleball or just another casita. But there's room to build ADUs and glass, like those mirror houses. Just there's so much space. So to build that in Flagstaff, I already determined it would have a phenomenal return on your money. And people don't think of Flagstaff as quickly as Scottsdale. It's just not as famous of a city name. There's not as many people, not many people know about it. If you're coming to northern Arizona, most people think go Sedona. And even that is not as popular as Scottsdale by name. But certainly if you go Sedona and then you go a little bit deeper into Flag, my coolest deal ever right now is under contract in Williams, which a name that you don't need to know unless you're hyper local, but I know it because I am local, and so I've heard of Williams. I know it's called the gateway to the Grand Canyon because everybody needs to drive through it if you're going to get to the Grand Canyon. So to have an Airbnb there, I'm under contract on Airbnb. It's the third away from the Grand Canyon. It's going to be 6 million people are going to drive by this Airbnb every year. It's crazy. So there's so much opportunity up there too, and so I would encourage anybody who's interested in Arizona or is just open-minded to markets in general, consider investing in northern Arizona, and I can certainly help you out. It's a different, Scottsdale's that urban retreat, whereas Sedona's that pure, energetic, vibey escape.
Yeah.
Totally other beast, totally other vacation, totally other avatar, but still can be equally lucrative. And so I just want to throw that out there about AZ.
How do the peak seasons change between the two? Scottsdale, you mentioned summer is slow, but I would think Flagstaff, Sedona, you have higher elevations, so the weather's going to be totally different, right?
Exactly, yeah. So Scottsdale is about to come into its busy season now. We're kind of in it. January does really well, but February and March, you literally can make enough money for the year and just coast. This makes or breaks your entire P&L. And April's fine. May's whatever. June, July, August is awful. It's just awful. The seasonality, you do better in busy season than you suck in slow season, so that's why it works out. But it's just so volatile. Whereas if you go to Sedona, there's always someone going to the Grand Canyon. Like just always. Or there's always reason to go to Sedona even itself in the winter. It's still nice. People hike there, people hang out there. Like it's not dead in the winter. And people from Phoenix who, I'm sorry, not dead in the summer is what I'm trying to say. When it's dead in Scottsdale in the summer, it's not necessarily dead in Sedona. And people from Phoenix who are like, I'm in 110 degrees. I just want to get out of Phoenix. I just want to get out of Scottsdale. Okay, we locals go up north and do a weekend or do a day or do a date or do a, whatever. Sedona's amazing for romantic one-day escapes for everybody in the valley because you get up and back in 2 hours. Flagstaff's another half an hour beyond that. And then, or maybe about that, and then another half hour up to the Grand Canyon, something like that. So it's like, it's doable. So yeah, I absolutely love it here. I think it's worth considering both cities. And what's nice about investing in Scottsdale is you can also invest in northern Arizona and kind of offset your own seasonality.
Cool. I recently heard somebody tell me to check out King. I think it's called King, Arizona.
Kingman, Arizona?
And I thought he said King, because Kingman I've heard of, and he's
okay. Yeah, Kingman you don't want to invest in,
no.
but King I don't know off the top of my head. Oh, let me.
I know. And now I'm curious. I want to say it was.
Nothing's coming up. You find out what that is, and I'll get you invested.
Maybe it was New Mexico, not Arizona.
Okay.
I know it wasn't too far from where we are in Southern California because this person that I was talking to was moving there, and he was telling me about the quality and caliber of house that he was getting for the value, et cetera. And he was like, "Well, you do what you do. Like this is a place." And I can't remember what he said was nearby where they were, but it might have been a little bit more MTR friendly versus STR. But it was a place. Now I have to go find it. Shoot. Well, I will.
Yep.
Bill and I will let you know.
Yep. Keep me posted. I'll give you a full analysis.
Cool. Okay. Well, great. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and sharing all of your expertise. We are hopefully going to have Mike back in a few weeks because one of these properties that he may have dropped a hint or two about is going to be going live soon, and it's going to be epic, and it has all the things, and he's going to break us down on how they chose what they chose, and just the process of getting that property up to the par that they're trying to bring it up to.
Thank you for the shout out. That property is so cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the pictures when it's done and everything. Sounds like it's going to be a really fun one.
It is. You'll love it just because you have the design mind. You'll love it. And just, last hint, there might be an indoor pool that we're discussing. So I will drop it and show you all the cool stuff.
When do you plan to launch? When did you say you were going to launch it?
Well, it was going to close mid-Feb. It's still on track to close, but beginning of March. And I personally might be asking the other cross agent for another extension, not for any reason that it's fallen out, but we'll see. But maybe February, March. That's the plan.
I love it because as you get closer, you're like, and we'll add this too, and we'll add this too. It's going to be a pretty cool. It's going to be like a miniature resort.
It is. And the investor herself, she's so cool. She's badass. She's got super luxe properties, a bunch in Pennsylvania, and she just sold another couple that she does the indoor pool with the movie theater. She likes to have fun and go unique, and so we're going to make this weird.
That's fun. Ooh, that's even more fun.
It's going to be sick.
Awesome. Well, okay, once again, thank you so much. Why don't you share with us where people can find you if they're looking to invest in Arizona or just have questions about STR, MTR?
Sure, yeah. Easiest way is my Instagram, @MikeStoneGroup. I direct traffic from there because I have a couple of different businesses and different people have different needs, whether it's management on your short-term rental. I do co-hosting. If it's actually the acquisition or sale of a property, I'm a realtor. I also have a midterm rental business, which I doubt is as relevant to people on this podcast. I'm kind of doing my own thing there. But I got my hands in a bunch of different short-term rental type of avenues. So hit me up on my @MikeStoneGroup on Instagram, and I'll kind of show you the best way to contact me going forward. But if you're specifically talking about buying a property or selling a property in Arizona, you could email me mikestone@savvy.realty. If it's for anything else, MikeStoneGroup@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to put that in the show notes. So if you guys have any questions or you want to get in touch with Mike, we do have a lot of MTR investors here as well. We have sometimes episodes that are specifically just for MTR. So nice. You may even hear, you may get somebody coming to you because they're curious about it. But nonetheless, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with me this evening. Let's go get a drink.
I love that. My pleasure, and I appreciate you having me.
For you. It's 5:00 for me, so it's wine time.
Well, yeah, it's 5:00 for you, and I see you don't have to walk too far, so we're off to the races.
Just gotta crack this giant behemoth and.
That's cool.
That's a wine bottle opener. I don't know how many episodes I've got now, but people might not realize this is a wine bottle opener.
That's very cool. Very cool contraption. You should put that, actually. That's a great design amenity to put with your wine bars, everybody.
It's cool. It's a really fun, unique thing. It's like some vintage piece, and it works. Yeah. It actually works. So it's a topic of conversation every time we have somebody new over there. Like, what is this and how does it work?
Love that. Love that. Well, really, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. It's always fun talking to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike.